Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube back with a second video for you guys. This video is somewhat of a character retrospective, I guess, about Isaac Collins, the man who found and built Collinsport in 1690. You know, it's not so much the fact of that he did build Collinsport, it's why leave England and come here and build your own town and set up roots here. You can say that's the American dream, sure, but keep in mind the U.S. did not have its independence yet. It's not going to come till till later, way later, and it leaves a lot of questions with Isaac, right? Like, okay, we know that there's an old house, right, built. We know that there's a great house built. We know that the Seaview house gets built, and that's all in one estate. Keep in mind, those houses are built. So if there's three houses there, how many mansions did they have built in England? And I gotta believe if you're gonna move clear across the ocean and build those many mansions and own that big of a property, that your money was not only huge and your pockets were deep, but you had a lot of houses. And Barnabas says about a cousin or an uncle when he's talking about Devlin. And here's the thing: I don't believe that's total BS. I do believe the Collinses did have a countryside homes and mansions. I think their English wealth is. I don't think it's as much as the royal families, but I think they're second to only the royal family. It's funny. We know that the Collinses are from England, literally Isaac, Amadeus, Joshua. But here's the thing: what do we really hear about that branch of the family other than they came from there? Not much. And I mean, we know they're rich, right? I mean, that's the thing. For as prominent as this family is, why is there not mentioned more about Isaac's family that came from England? He would. Isaac was the older brother of Amadeus. So we know their life. We know some of the very little. We know some of their life, I should say, in Collinsport because of the. We know the town gets built. We know the mansions get built. We know a business gets built. We know a fishing fleet gets built. He oversees all that. But here's a man that died in the 1700s, and you sort of wonder, okay, why just come here just to own your own property? You had it all in England already, so why come here? And there are many reasons to take into consideration. One, I'm going to bring up a great my buddy Patrick McRae made a great point that maybe Joshua was a Leviathan, or maybe it started with Isaac. Who knows? We don't know. Maybe the Leviathans told him to build there. We don't know. It's a hell of a possibility. The other possibility, maybe the Collins family were tired of living underneath the king and underneath the English Parliament. I mean, it's a possibility. You got to put that in consideration for sure. There's a lot of mystery that surrounds this character, and really the biggest mystery isn't the fact that he builds a town. It's the fact that he leaves a place he's already well established. I mean, that's something you really got to address with Isaac, and really the Collins family as a whole. They're already established in England. I mean, they could just stay in England and do exactly what they did in Collinsport in England. They could run their business there. And you might say, well, they have a king. Okay, if you didn't want to live under a king, I guess I could see that. That's why you're leaving. So, but is that the reason? I mean, is it as simple as they didn't want to live under a king or parliament that way, so they left England and they wanted to go to this new land, this new world? It could be. It could be. It could be something as simple as that, or it could be a little more sinister, for sure. We just don't know, and that's the thing too. Once you came to the states, what became of everything in England? We know that there are other branches of the Collins family. We know Carolyn mentions a cousin. We all think that there's Collins family members in the South, and there probably is. So there's other branches of the Collins family, but when Barnabas shows up, Liz says, I didn't even know I had relatives in England. Here, there's a whole group flourishing. And he said, flourishing's hardly the word. I'm the only one left. And most likely, there's no Collins left in England necessarily. But here's the thing, their legacy has to be marked there or left there at in some way, shape, or form, whether it's those mansions, then maybe things got built for them in their honor. We don't know. Because again, even though we know they came from England, we know that's where Isaac came from, we just don't hear enough about the English branch. And again, this is another thing too. We don't hear enough about the other branches of the Collins family. And now you could say, well, England, there's no one left. Sure, there's no one left, and you could say that's why we don't hear about them. But why don't we hear more about the other branches too that we think are still around? Or why does no one not bring up England even more? God, Josette came from France, mind you, and they talk more about Josette coming from France than they do about England, which is crazy. It is. I mean, think about it. Think of how many times you hear Josette. She was a beautiful French woman. Oh, she came from France. She was elegant, and it's like, man, y'all talk more about her than you do your own lineage. You're coming from England. Why? It makes you question, did something happen there that maybe forced the Collins to leave, or they just was it by choice or was it by force? And really, that's what I'm going to leave you guys with. I can't really even call this a character retrospective. It's more of an examination of the events we don't know about. We look, yes, we know a town got built. It's called Collinsport, Maine. We know that a fishing fleet got built. But again, why would you're establishing a legacy here in the States? Great. What caused you to leave the current establishment you already had in another country? And it's a question I will leave you folks with. You guys have a great, great night.